if you know me well, which why would you? But if you do, you would know that Sam Fender is a pretty concrete member of my big three: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. He speaks to me and he speaks for me when I can't conjure the right words. One of my favorite things to do on this channel is take a real deep dive into albums and talk about them through a lot of detail, scan all the lyrics. But to be honest, those videos take a long time to prepare, often weeks. So to stay consistent on this channel, I thought I'd start a little series where I just deep dive into my favorite song from a particular artist. So what better way to start than with the Geordie Prince himself?
And they gave us a lot of cans, and I'm really hungover. I'm really, really hungover.
Now, when I say favorite song, you got to keep in mind that fluctuates. It's impossible to just pick one. I'm a Libra, okay? I can barely stick to one personality, let alone one favorite song from an artist. But at the moment, that track is all right. So let's jump into it. Let's look at some stats. The song was released July 15th, 2022. It had its live debut at Sam's infamous Finsbury Park concert, which had over 45,000 people there, and then was later released on that live album that came out about just a little over a month after. It was produced by Branwell Bronte. But Honor, didn't he die in 1848? No, my sweet summer child, that is Branwell Bronte. Branwell Bronte is the pseudonym for Tom Lewis. Lewis has produced pretty much everything Sam's done. They would do it from this self-built studio in their hometown, North Shields. And Tom's kind of one of the reasons that Sam chose to sign with Polydor Records. A lot of other labels were really pushing him to work with other people, but Polydor agreed not to fix something that isn't broken. So he signed with them, and I'm very glad he did, because Polydor is one of my favorites. It's Paul Weller's label, along with other incredible artists. On its release, it peaked at number 61 on the ARIA charts, but weirdly enough failed to make place on any other country's charts. But it has been certified silver by the BPI, which means it has been sold over 200,000 times. And at the time of recording, it's been streamed over 6.5 million times on Spotify. Now let's get into the meat and bones of the track. I'm going to leave a link down below to the song on YouTube, so you can follow along if you want. I will leave little timestamps down in the corner here to indicate what part of the song I'm actually talking about. The song opens right out the gate with this driving guitar riff, which is just so beautifully highlighted by the glockenspiel. The chord progressions, in my opinion, are just perfect. I think that's one of the things that Sam does so well, that really sets himself apart from that indie rock crowd. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Sam has this incredible ability to put emotion into his instrumentals. So even before he starts singing, you kind of get a feel for the mood of the song. It's so emotive. I'm not a musician. I don't know how to do that kind of thing. So for me, this is all still magic, and one of the reasons I'll never get tired of talking about music. The first verse opens, and I promise this video isn't just going to be completely me gushing over this man, but I just love his voice so much. It can be so many things all at once. It's powerful but gentle, and it soars, but it also has this really vulnerable quality. Something changed at 24, spent my days moving to and fro from the bed to the bathroom floor. These lines set us up for what the rest of the verse is about, and I'm not going to suggest I have any semblance of an idea of what Sam went through at this time, but just as a personal connection to the song, I'm currently 24, gotta admit, not the best year, not fabulous, really going through it. So just one of the reasons this song means a lot to me is probably why it's one of my favorite at the moment. Moving to and fro from the bed to the bathroom floor, that's a pretty brave image to create and to share with an audience. There's no real romanticizing that, so I really do commend Sam for laying that down on the table. Tear away my rancid skin, this must be penance for my evasion of death's returning claw. As far as we know, Sam's been battling with a compromised immune system after being diagnosed at 20 with a life-threatening illness. We don't know what that is. That's totally fine. He doesn't owe anyone anything in regards to that. All we know is it made life really hard for him, particularly with touring. There was lots of shows that he sadly had to cancel due to different infections caused by this illness. which he expressed it was really hard and sad for him. So I can imagine it's a hard and sad thing to write about as well. These particular lines unveil a real deep loathing as a cause of this illness. Describing your own skin as rancid and tearing it away as punishment for not dying. That's really quite dark. So I only have like empathy for anyone that feels that kind of way. If you're a friend of the channel, you know we love one thing in particular here, and that's religious reference. So the reference to penance, I enjoyed that. Should have died 1,000 times, sick kid paradigm, death's working overtime. In continuation of the last lines, paradigm, we're talking about a pattern, something that's happening over and over again. So we really do get a sense of just how exhausting this illness is for Sam. I really like the personification of death here. You get that image of the Grim Reaper trying to, make visits but not succeeding with what he needs to do. Worry about my brother a lot, don't really talk enough, can't seem to say the right thing. Sam's brother is also a musician. He is 9 years older than him. He's been making a bit of a name for himself recently. He just put out his second single last month, and he's been featured on BBC Introducing and BBC Six. They seem to have a really great relationship now. I've seen him post a lot of times about how proud he is of his brother. So I'm gathering whatever was making them feel distant probably isn't the case anymore. Could have been an age thing. Me and my brother's 3 years younger than me. So we kind of grew up experiencing the same things. But I can imagine having a sibling 9 years older than you, probably it is harder to have that bond. When Sam was just starting high school, his brother would have been a full-on adult. So there would be a bit more distance between them. We then go into the chorus. We're all right, we're all right. There's time to put the world to rights. We're all right, we're all right. To me, and this is just my interpretation, I could be wrong, but it feels like this is less of a statement and more of Sam trying to convince himself that he's all right. Put the world to rights is such a English saying. I don't think I've ever heard any of my Aussie friends saying it, but that line in particular feels really homely to me. And it's just another example of how Sam shows that northern charm in any chance that he can get in his music. The last all right ends on this beautiful falsetto that just sort of falls gracefully back into that opening riff that you heard at the start. And I think that might be my favorite part of the song. It's just done so well. The second verse starts with something waning in my head, can't sleep, and I'm seeing things, and I can't stand the sight of myself. That one hits close to home. In this verse, we shift from talking about a physical health more to a mental health. Something sort of the strength of his mind is dwindling. Can't sleep and I'm seeing things, probably alluding to hallucinations due to sleep deprivation. Been there, done that. Not fun. Really not fun. You feel like you're losing your mind, and your reflection doesn't, at least in my experience, your reflection looks weird. So that might also be linked to the line about not being able to stand the sight of yourself. These are also common signs of depression, which is predominantly what this verse is about. It's a generation thing, said one of the old boys back in the boozer on his 10th pint of the day. Sam's certainly not been shy in talking about small town mentalities, particularly in the older generations. You only have to look as far as Dead Boys or Leave Fast to see where he sort of stands on that. It really is a big problem in the UK. I've noticed, particularly the last couple of times I've been back home, what should be, a lovely holiday to see family, it is usually overshadowed by things that you hear and things that people insist talking about, and it can be quite overwhelmingly depressing. So living in that every day, I can see why it happens, and I can see why people would be frustrated. Sam's pointing out the irony here of older generations complaining about younger people being weak when they wouldn't dream of addressing their own problems. They'd rather just, drink away their sorrows at the pub, a dingy old pub. So we shy away from it, accept it for what it is. We're all born and raised and maimed. Here Sam's talking about the problem being cyclical. Just, it's something that happens to every generation when they get to that age, and it's sort of the English way not to challenge it, not to improve. We just sort of, shut up and take it, and it's never ending. Dog tails you like a hound, then clarity brings it out. Gotta fight it hand to hand. We've got that classic representation of depression as a black dog, that creature that's always sort of lurking in the background. You can't get rid of it. It's sort of that hunting being. It's not the first time that Sam's used this metaphor. In Dead Boys, he sings, "We all tussle with the black dog, some out loud and some in silence." I really appreciate the way Sam talks about mental health. He doesn't romanticize anything, because the truth of the matter, it's ugly. It's really fucking ugly. I get quite frustrated with celebrities or just public figures that try and sort of become these mental health advocates by getting on Instagram and saying, "Oh, I just hope anyone out there that's having a bad time knows that you are loved and you are worthy." And it's like, shut up. Don't infantilize us, please. It's okay to not be okay. Okay, sure. Having bad days now and again, totally fine. Crying sometimes, absolutely okay. That should be normalized. Wanting to throw yourself off a bridge, not okay, should not be normalized. No amount of motivational quotes in girl boss brush pen font shared to your Instagram story are going to help someone that's actually feeling that low. But I feel like Sam does a good enough job at being relatable and actually talking like a normal human being. Sorry, ran over. We get a repetition of the chorus, beautifully highlighted by Johnny Blue Hat's saxophone. Another sort of key marker of Sam Fender's work and something that sets him apart from the rest. I find that the saxophone really acts as a secondary voice, as it does on most of the album. We then get this quiet build-up that I just find so stunning. Sam's voice is really vulnerable, and I don't know about you, but I feel like there's kind of a shift at this point in the song where it goes from being Sam's sort of introspective doubts to them becoming a bit of a war cry for the audience. And it's sort of like Sam's going, okay, now it's your turn. This is your song now. And he's passing over ownership, and it becomes more hopeful. The instrumental becomes more hopeful, and that sort of changes the way we think about the words of the chorus. Does that make sense, or was that just a weird ramble? I just absolutely can't get enough of Sam's voice on it. It's so compelling and strong and wonderful. I really want to take a moment to express how grateful I am for Sam creating the music he does. I can't begin to tell you how much less alone in this world it's made me feel. Actually, I can, and I have. There's a whole video where I talk about his debut album. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave that link down below. It was a while ago. It's a little bit cringy now that I look back on it, but I still stand by everything that I said. Everything I've said in this video is all just completely my interpretation. That's one of the beautiful things I think about art, is that everyone can have a different opinion. Everyone can take something different out of it. And I think that's something that should be celebrated and protected. So if you have conflicting opinions about the song or just something to add to the conversation, I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. If you haven't met me before, hi, my name is Honor. I talk about music and arts and culture. So if that's your thing, I would be honored to be part of your subscriptions. I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely week, and I'll catch you next week. Ciao.